let's get into the next section of the conversation. And again, we're kind of repeating some of this stuff, but it's worth it given the context of certain questions. Optimizing sleep for performance. If a grappler could only do three things to improve their sleep starting tonight, what would you recommend?
Be consistent with whatever amount of sleep that you're getting. Now, this applies to everybody, not just grapplers, but for example, if I just like your body needs like we need regularity. Okay? So that means that this is the common mistake you see is that sometimes you'll see somebody sleeping like they just run themselves down every night and then they're like, "Oh, I'm so tired," so they get 10 hours of sleep. When you get 10 hours of sleep, um you are now blunting the ability to go to sleep at the same time the subsequent night because it just doesn't we need consistency in sleep. So for example,
Humans are creatures of routine, right? And you and I have talked about the importance of routine in our training. And sleep is just an extension of our training, right? Recovery is probably the most important part of training.
yeah, and it's because our biology works off cues, right? And so if there that consistency isn't there, if I'm not going to bed and getting up at the same, like after a while, your body adapts to that, and now you're getting the cues, and now you're going to bed, and now you're going to restore better. But when you sleep 9, 10 hours one night, then the next night you've already banked too much sleep, and whether you want to sleep it doesn't matter. Even if you want to sleep another 10 hours, you're going to stay up that night because you got too much sleep one night.
Right.
Because whether you like it or not, your body adapts to a certain amount of sleep. So let's say I would rather do that wishy-washy one night, 7 hours, one night, 5 hours, one night, 9 hours. I would just figure out what makes sense for me. And then if that's only committing to 6 hours, you're better off getting 6 hours every night versus 10 hours one night and 4 hours one night. And so being regular with your sleep is super
So
important
give us
for
a couple more, and maybe I'll add and we'll dig into it. You've talked about coming up with a sleep routine, and breathing is part of that. What else would encompass a sleep routine?
um again, so it would fall under the same thing because it's all recovery, but um
Again, you
light
talked about breathing. Do you,
chrononutrition, so circadian rhythm, right? But with um, the effects of food, right? So, for example, if I'm going to bed, if I'm training, and we're going to talk about the grappler, right? So, if you're training at night, and one thing that affects our sleep, doesn't matter what you do, is stable blood sugar. So what you eat on the second half of the day really, really matters. Because, like, for example, if you train at night and you come home and now you're super hungry and you especially have more carbohydrates or refined carbohydrates, that's going to spike your blood sugar and then it's going to drop it. When it drops it, it's going to be in the middle of your sleep. And then one of the reasons why you wake up is low blood sugar. Okay? So timing your meals accordingly based on your sleep schedule and what you do throughout the day really, really matters too. So that's something I would say is something
so
that you
well,
want.
what I didn't catch there, and I get what you're saying, but should I be eating? If not, you know, or what should I be eating, or how much time do I need to eat before I go to sleep? Are those all
Use
factors?
an example. Like, let's
Yeah,
use the next example so that we can kind of like work on how to strategize for that person. Like we're talking about the night person.
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
talking about me, to be honest with you, which is the majority of the practitioners out there. And I'm not sure. Sometimes I'm snacking before I go to sleep, but if I'm training for a tournament, my meals are very regimented, and I'll probably have a bit of protein when I get home from practice, and that's about it. But is there a time frame, like I shouldn't be chugging a glass of milk and eating a steak 10 minutes before I want to go to bed. Like what should I what how much time do I need to before I eat and go to sleep?
Right. So digestion is competing with sleep.
Right.
That's the reality.
In a nutshell. Yeah.
And you remember, anything that causes your heart rate to elevate is going to cause a stress response, right? So when you're digesting, your body's actually exercising, but you're allocating blood to your digestive system. You're actually working. So it depends what you eat. Okay. The other thing too is your brain is always looking for nutrients. So if you've been kind of starving yourself all day, and now you're eating at night because you have no choice, you have to get it in. That's where the problem is. The timing is really important. So to be specific in your situation, let's say, like what I said back in the first episode, you want to front load your day with the meals. Why? Your blood sugar control is better during the day because you have more energy. Your blood sugar is going to be more stable. You can tolerate and digest better. Plus, when you eat for the first half of the day, you get those meals in, then you're not going to have to worry about your brain is getting what it needs. Now you have the ability to just kind of keep it light at nighttime. So
Okay.
this is my suggestion is, right? So you're training at 6 o'clock. I would say get your last heaviest, more heartiest meal in about 3 hours before that, 2.5 hours. Get it in, okay? You know you're going to train, so you got to give yourself some time to digest. This takes a little bit of discipline, but the problem is once you train hard at night, when you come home, now you're more hungry. The harder you train, the more
Starve.
hungrier you are. What you got to do is you got to adapt. So it's better to come home and then end it. One thing that's been studied and been seen that one thing isn't detrimental to sleep is for you to get a bolus of protein powder, like at 40 grams. The reason why it's a good idea is because it doesn't require that much digestion. And because of that training bout, you need that much protein for recovery. So it actually is going to immediately send a message to your brain that there's protein on hand, there's macronutrients, there's fuel on hand. I am okay. I can down regulate and I can get into that protein synthesis and recovery state. Growth hormone can get released, and it's actually quite vital as opposed to you trying to like tough it out and not eating. So it's sort of like in a little bit of an exception. You kind of want to get that in, but you don't
Perfect.
want to have a full meal. If you have a full
Right.
meal, now you have to release digestive enzymes, and now your stomach acid is going up, and it that really conflicts with going parasympathetic and sleeping because now you're
It's funny. It's funny talking to you in the previous episode and this episode. I see all my bad habits when I'm just training day to day and how, whether accidentally or on purpose, how I'm truly optimized when I'm preparing for tournaments. And having that protein shake is really that what I do when I'm preparing for a tournament. But when I'm not, I'm just like, oh, I'm home. I'm going to eat whatever I want. And I take the recovery for granted because I'm not paying attention. I'm not trying to optimize, but the recommendation is actually we should always be optimizing because that's what's going to excel us and make our training that much better and increase our performance on the day to day. And that's really where all the gains are, right? Not just preparing for tournaments.
Exactly, right? So we're talking, everything is a choice. And you know what? Sometimes you got life is life. You got to live your life. And, it's not black and white. But if we are talking about optimization, if you bring it right back to your mindset and your purpose, and you get more specific with what it is that you want, then these are the things that are overlooked. And then we're looking for other solutions, but there's no other solution if these things are missing. It's a hierarchy of values that you need to respect if you want to get to a certain level or point. And however, like the more specific you are with what you want, then you can keep yourself more accountable with the things that you need to do. That's what it all comes back to, right?
Perfect. Here's a question I've gotten in the past, and actually I have no clue how to answer this. What are your thoughts on supplements like melatonin, magnesium, or glycine for sleep? Do you recommend? Have you looked into it? I do the magnesium anyway. Again, we talked about it in the last podcast for, for my personal health and some other supplements that I take. But are there any that we should consider from a sleeping purpose perspective?
I mean, I would be a hypocrite if I said no. I'm sort of like
Are
addicted.
you like Joe Rogan, where you're just like your handfuls of
Yeah,
of supplements?
Joe Rogan 1.0, I think he's figured it out now. Anyone who is like just kind of figured it out now, they're like taking less, not more. Even Brian Johnson, if you know who Brian Johnson is, he's like someone who takes like he used to take like 200 pills a day and stuff like that, right? But I said this last time too. It's like better living through chemistry still requires better living. So those fundamentals in nutrition is number one. Okay, it's number one. But in regards to sleep, absolutely. The ones that you mentioned are very beneficial. Magnesium has 600 rules. One of them is muscle relaxation. One of them is upregulation of a neurotransmitter called GABA, which is the inhibitory to excitement. So, just on those two things, our muscles need to be relaxed when we're sleeping. It even helps with blood sugar regulation. So, our blood sugar needs to be down, insulin needs to be down, and then for that to happen, we need magnesium, right? And most of us are deficient in magnesium, so that's a huge one. Glycine is an amino acid that our body synthesizes for collagen production. Magnesium glycinate is chelated to glycine, and glycine has a very powerful effect for sleep because it helps with our core temperature. It's also seen these days for as a longevity nutrient because it helps with inflammation as well. So anything that helps with inflammation is also going to help with sleep. So I would recommend something more natural like tart cherry extract. I'm sure you've heard of tart cherry juice being utilized now. Oh, tart cherry juice is again natural. It's a very polyphenol antioxidant rich compound in the tart cherries, and it's really because it has two things that are natural. It's got it's antioxidants that are going to bring down oxidative stress that
Right.
we incur throughout the day, which causes that fogginess between the brain and the body. So if we want to go parasympathetic, we can't have that static happening in the body. And then melatonin. That's what tart cherry is rich in melatonin. Naturally, we're going to get that. And then when there's less inflammation, our body, our guts, so gut health is super important in terms of the grand scheme of things, because when the gut-brain axis is working well, digestion is working well, then that levels of inflammation are coming down because our bodies are getting what it needs. Energy is being released through digestion. There's less inflammation than needs to be. And then as a result, then we can get into that relaxed state. GABA can be upregulated and then we can sleep. So magnesium helps. Tart cherry juice is helping. Glycine is a powerful aid and supplement to take. And then protein, because protein is the building blocks and has the byproducts and not byproducts, sorry, amino acids, building blocks that are going to allow your body to do what it naturally does. So all these things are important. Long story
Wow,
short.
that's a lot a lot to take in, and folks, do your research, and if you
I
have
slept,
any.
I slept 8.5 hours last night.
Hey man, no, and just so it could open up a bunch of other questions. Just a reminder to folks, if you have any specific questions, don't be shy. Like, post them in the chat
Yeah.
here, in the comments section, and we'd be happy to answer them. I got a cool one here that you have a bit of information on. Do wearables like Whoop or Aura help or stress people out more in your experience? What's been your experience? Now I know you love your little tool there on your arm, but do you recommend it? Some people get stressed about it, right? And they're constantly looking at it, and they're living and looking at every decimal point on their
Yeah.
watch. What are your thoughts in general?
Just like any when people can get stressed about using social media and their phones, you have with great power comes great responsibility. You have to kind of use these things properly, right? But again, it's a very advantageous tool because it's going to give, especially this day and age, the technology is a lot better than like 10 years ago.
Right.
We're getting lots of very beneficial metrics that are going to, slowly the need for doctors for the most of the stuff that they're doing is going to be just taken out because of these gadgets. Even right now, there's so much in knowing what your respiratory rate is in the morning, right? If your respiratory rate is within a range and the lower it is, the way you're breathing, how many breaths per minute, that's indicative of your state of health. If your resting heart rate is low or lower based on your baseline, that means that day you're more primed for activity. The biggest one of them all, the HRV, is telling you how much you can tolerate stress in one day. That is a very accurate predictor, and it's not just in regards to, it's not influenced just by your sleep. It's influenced by what you eat. It's influenced by how you feel, your emotional thoughts, and the level of stress you have. There's not, it's so sensitive to everything that happens in your life that it's going to give you a better picture and of your day and how you can kind of like go about designing your day. But that doesn't mean that you should kind of like treat it as gospel and say, "Oh, I have a low recovery, so I'm not going to do anything," right? So it's just understanding how to use these tools.
It's
But I
just
would
data. It's just data.
it's data, but it's more objective data, right?
Yeah.
So the best way is to have subjective data and be more intuitive and use how you feel on a daily basis based on the actions that you've taken, and then also use the objective data to be able to kind of figure out something in between in terms of your overall kind of like decision on what state you're in, right? They both matter.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
So yeah, I
absolutely.
highly recommend it. I would highly recommend it. Why not? But sometimes you got to do a detox from these things, right? So if you've been really dependent on it, what I do is like every once in a while I just stop using it. You actually have a feature where it just hides your metrics. So you hide your
It still
metrics and
collects it, so you can have that historical data that you can go back to, but you're not transfixed by it. You're not fixated
no,
is the right word.
you're not neurotic about it. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
right, like I feel good. I feel good. I slept. Why shouldn't I feel good? And like 99% of the time, there's nothing wrong with you if you
Do
just
you
slept.
do you wear it while you roll or do you take it off?
I do wear it while I roll, just because it gives you so much information in terms of.
So you just kind of tape over it? Like give some people some tips
No,
because I've
no,
had
there's a sleeve. There's a bicep sleeve that you can put the sensor in, so you can take this off, put the sensor in the sleeve, and now it's just on. And then it just kind of like it's really beneficial because it actually shows you how many calories you've burned, but more importantly, what heart rate zones you were in. Now, over time, you are going to become more efficient if you're training efficiently. So if I compare my data from 6 months ago, and within the last 6 months, if I've been getting ready for a tournament, in the last few months, I'm noticing that I'm burning less calories. My heart rate zones are a little bit lower, uh, which is telling me that I'm getting more fit, or it'll also tell me if I'm not training hard enough, right? So
Oh,
sometimes there's a little bit of a mismatch with how you feel and with the reality of how much like what heart rate zones you're in. You won't be able to know that until you actually have again another objective measure. So I do wear it and it's helpful.
very very scientific, and I do see more and more competitors getting into that level of detail and level of metrics and level of understanding. I'm still old school. I'm hard headed. It's more about how I feel, but using a lot of the methods that we've talked about in this podcast and previous podcasts. You don't need you don't absolutely need the technology, but if you want to take it to the next level,
Absolutely.
we have that now available to
Yeah.
us. And
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's cool that I didn't know about the armband. So there's probably more people at the gym that are wearing it than I realized.
Yeah, I mean, you can wear like a heart strap around your chest now, and like
Oh,
there's
geez.
so many different ones that you can use, right? So,
The
but
only
I just
things I put on my body are the things that hold my body together, so I don't
yeah.
so I don't break any more than I'm already broken. If you're interested in the full podcast, the link is in the description and the comments section. Thank you for watching, Grapplers.